again and welcome back to the channel. So today I have another G.I. Joe classified review for you. This time it is Tripwire. So I picked this guy up from Robo Toys, a distributor here in Australia. This is how much I paid for him. I never had the vanilla Tripwire as a kid and I don't have him in the 25th anniversary line. I did have the Tiger Force variant in the vintage line, so pretty pleased to see that we are getting a Tiger Force classified, although I'm not sure why they've bundled him in with Roadblock because I don't really want the Roadblock figure, but regardless. So here he is, nice big artwork, image on the front and then some artwork on the side. Number 78 and then some more nice artwork, and then on the back all of his accessories, his particulars. 6'2", pretty big fella, and then the QR code and again all his particulars. So let's open it up, have a look. Okay, so here is Tripwire out of the packaging with all of his accessories. He is probably considered a deluxe figure, so as you can see he does come with quite a decent amount. So let's take a look. So Tripwire comes with a lightweight helmet, heavy duty helmet, heavy duty armor, lightweight neck guard, heavy neck guard, mine detector, pipe, backpack, drone control, 2 mines, a sidearm, McLeod and Apsara. So let's take a closer look at a few of these accessories. Let's start off with McLeod. So this is his bomb disposal drone. So McLeod, or it says on the back here, mobile armored control lever for explosive ordnance disposal. So there you go. It is a nice piece. It's articulated, only the arm is articulated here, and then also at the top. I did think that these front tracks were articulated. They feel like separate pieces, but they don't move. If they do, they're super stiff, but I'm worried that if I force it, I'll break it, so I don't think that they move. So just a straightforward matte, like a bluey grey, with just a couple of red dots for the paint applications, and that's about it. But still, it is a nice piece. And then also Apsara, I think that's how you pronounce the name of his bomb sniffing rat. So it's actually quite cool. It's a real soft, durable, rubbery plastic. So the tail there is quite soft. Nice paint applications on the harness, even has some grey around the snout and on the paws. So yep, another Joe with a pet. And then moving on to the backpack. This is very cool. It's exactly how I remember it. Well, obviously not exactly, but I remember with the vintage version, you could get the mines in the backpack. I'm not sure if you could get all of them. In this case, you can only get one, so it just slots in the back. It is a little bit troublesome to get out once you've popped it in, but there you go, it just pops in like so. Some nice paint applications on here, some olive green, and there's a bit of a readout there as well. But what's really nice about this is obviously it works to hold his metal detector or mine detector. So you can actually clip it in like that. So it can actually just be held in the backpack, wherever you like. And then obviously once he is using it, you clip the hose into the portion at the top and then into the actual detector. And there we are. So I like that, I really do like that. Next we have the alternate armor. So he comes in his lighter armor. So you can see the difference here is quite significant. This is much bigger and much heavier. This just clips on the sides. Mine is a little bit troublesome, but you can just unpeg it and slip it over his head. And the larger piece just goes on. And you can see that there are just 2 pegs and holes on either side. Mine can be a little bit tricky. Doesn't want to stay once it's in, so that's that side done. And then that side is kind of done, but now this side is out. So yeah, it's a little bit annoying. There we are. And then for the neck guard, this smaller piece has these little, almost like hooks at the front there. And as I understand it, it's easier if you take the head off do it this way. Hook those underneath that front portion, and then the back just slips over the back part of his neck, or the lower part of his higher part of his back. And there we are. But this is designed for the lighter armor. See, it's come undone again there. Yeah, a little bit annoying. Brings back memories of the first wave of Valorverse figures with their horrible jackets that just couldn't go on. Anyway, so slip that off. This larger one is a little bit difficult. So this lower portion, I think, is for the back, but it doesn't quite fit. I mean, it looks okay, but it doesn't quite fit. I almost want it to fit snugly in there, in the front and in the back. So it's sort of tucked away, but it doesn't quite work. It just sort of floats there. You can manipulate it to look much better. You can have it hooked down the back, so there's a bit of a lip there, or you can have it tucked in the front. It has a lip at the back, so it's not really a big deal. And then for the helmets, they're both very nice. They are a soft, durable plastic. This one has a nice matte visor, a gloss visor on the front, but this one is more of a matte for the goggles. So this just slips over and under the chin, like that. There we are, sort of. It's not quite right. Get over there. There we are. And then for the heavy duty helmet, same sort of deal, but there's no chin strap. So it just goes straight on like that. Yeah. And then obviously if you had the neck piece on, and then give it a go. There we are. Okay, and then it comes with a control system for McLeod. Not much to it, a couple of aerials, and then just a couple of dials. The mine's very simplistic. You can only get one in the backpack. It just pegs straight in. Sidearm, nothing we haven't seen before. Nice that they are including the hole in the barrel, so you can use some of those muzzle flash effects that we got with the Viper 3-pack. And that about does it for the accessories. I guess we'll just have a quick look at this lighter jacket. I think I prefer the lighter jacket over the heavier jacket. The heavy one's nice, but the lighter one just seems to work a little bit better. This is the exact same color, just two schemes, one of the olive green and then one of the darker gray. And this is the same, but it has a little bit more detail. This one, not much detail. This one has quite a bit, all the pockets at the front there, extra padding, and then even at the back as well. And this one tends to work a little bit easier than the heavier duty one. And this is probably what I'll pose him up with as well. But I do like the heavy duty look as well. But there we are. So let's take a closer look at Tripwire and go over the articulation. Now, one of the first things out of the box was the face sculpt. I was quite surprised with the sculpt for no other reason that it just looked kind of distinguished, I suppose. Don't know why. Could be the parting, could just be the kind of chiseled features that he has. I really don't know why, but that was the impression that I had. He has this very just neutral look. So if you're going to put him in an action pose, you know, with his sidearm or anything like that, you can't really have him with his helmet off because it just doesn't really work. He just looks too casual. So I guess it's just as well that we do have the helmets. I mean, it could be worse. I don't mind this sculpt that much, but it could be worse. We all remember what Falcon was like, so hopefully we don't get anything more like that. So, you know, yeah, he's not too bad. And the sculpt itself is actually very well done. Sculpting of the hair is nice. The paint application is done, and very nice. Paint application in the eyes doesn't seem to be overlapping too much at all. Yeah, so, you know, can't really grumble. So let's take a quick look at the armor before we go over the articulation, because he does have some additional pieces. These two here on the biceps, these were quite high up when he came out of the packaging, so I don't know if they're supposed to be more for the shoulder. I shimmied them down because I kind of prefer them a little bit further down. It just looks a little bit more realistic having them over the arms rather than the shoulder. But on this one, you can see that underneath he does actually have some of his insignias there. So it looks like he's maybe a sergeant, not entirely sure. And then it's replicated on the actual armor as well. And then moving down, he has these two pieces of armor on his thighs. These can also be manipulated, although you're not really going to move them anywhere else. And then the right hand side has the holster for his sidearm, which is, here it is, and that slips in really nice. There we are. So one thing which is a little bit unusual, and it could be that all the figures are like this and this is the first time I've come across it, the boots here, this came off really easily. I don't want to snap it, but when I was just trying to manipulate the boot, it just completely came off. It was easy enough to pop back on, but it just seems more apparent with this figure that there is a cut there. As I said, don't know if that is the same as all of the figures and I've just noticed it more here, but also with the arms, there is a cut just underneath this piece of armor at the bicep for the bicep swivel, and the peg just seems to loosen and it just comes off quite easily without much manipulation at all, so just be mindful of that. So let's take a quick look at the articulation. Now, I've done this so many times with these figures, so I guess the only real difference is how is it hindered by all the gear that he's got on. And it is somewhat hindered, but not too much. Now, just bear in mind that this is the lighter armor, so it is going to be more restricted with the heavier armor. At the head, you are going to get down to about there, unless you've got the neck guard on where you're getting nothing, and then up to about there. He gets a full range of motion and a wobble. He does have a butterfly joint, and it doesn't really have any restrictions unless you have this piece of armor up really, really high. So you can see what I mean there by that cut. It just wants to pop the arm out. So I haven't really come across that yet. You see how it's really quite unusual. Anyway, so the butterfly joint, yeah, full range of motion, and then as you just saw, you do have the bicep swivel, but because of this armor, it is going to be restricted. So maybe it's the armor that's pushing against it, and that's why it's coming away. Double jointed elbow. And then he has full range of motion at the wrist for the peg. Ab crunch, you probably guessed that he's not going to get anything at all. If you take this off, he is going to get a bit of ab crunch. Yep, so to about there, and then all the way back. But obviously with that on, you're not going to get any at all. He has rolled off hips, so you can get a full range of motion, and the belt here is a softer plastic, so you're not going to damage anything. Drop down legs. Again, here we've got a cut just underneath that armor, so you can get some range of motion, but it is going to get to a certain point where it's restricted, so just be mindful of that. And then also the double jointed knee, you can get all the way up, but it does pinch that piece of armor. I guess you could take this off without damaging it if you was to slide it all the way down, or you could probably just take this boot off because there is a cut and a peg that's in there, and mine did pop off, popped back on easily enough. But I suppose if you wanted to take that off, I would probably recommend, well, I say recommend, yeah, do it at your own risk, but if you took the boot off, you could probably get it off easy enough. Anyway, he has the boot cut, and then he has a rocker and a pivot at the ankle. So overall, the articulation is nothing we haven't seen before. There is some restriction because of the gear that he's got on. He is completely pinless. You can see here he has no pins in the arms, no pins in the legs. So a newer buck, but overall, yeah, articulation isn't too bad. And in terms of scale, here he is next to Roadblock, Ultimate's Red Jackal, and Colosseum Jake the Snake Roberts. Okay, so my final thoughts on the G.I. Joe classified version of Tripwire. So it seems that Hasbro have done it to me yet again. Recently, I was debating whether or not I was going to continue on with the classified line. I've had a few bad figures recently and thought, that's it, I'm just going to pull the trigger. It's probably the third time that I've had this feeling since I started collecting a year or two back now. And then I get a figure like Tripwire, and just like Grunt and Snowjob before him, it reminds me why I collect this line. Figures like this, in my opinion, are standouts. Not only does he pay tribute to the original vintage Tripwire, but he has just enough modernisation to bring him into that classified look and feel. He is somewhat of a deluxe figure, so he is going to cost you a little bit more than what you're used to, but this is one of those rare cases where he comes with just enough that it doesn't feel like anything is unnecessary. He has enough so that he can have multiple looks, as well as the inclusion of the drone and the rat. Very, very nice indeed, and certainly worth the money. He is difficult to get here in Australia. I'm not sure if Robotoys still has him, and I haven't seen him on the Big Bad Toy Store, but we do get a version of him in the Tiger Force line coming, but unfortunately that is going to come along with Roadblock. So if you don't want Roadblock, then you're pretty much stuck. But if you only want Roadblock and you don't want Tripwire, then maybe drop me a message and I'm sure we could split the difference. Well, that about wraps up this review. I certainly hope that you have enjoyed it, and if you have, please do give the video a like and consider subscribing. And until next time, take care.